sword and scribe.
When examining the Haptic-Drive, we can see that it is a rounded, square-like piece of hardware. It appears to have a molded inlay that can fit a human hand onto the front of the device. This notion is further supported by observing 4 sleeve-like structures that look like they allow for the sliding in and locking of 4 fingers minus the thumb. At the end of these, we can also see what looks to be 4 button-like structures that are each color-coded with a specific color: yellow, red, blue, so on. So from just inspecting this device, it appears to be an apparatus that a person would place their hand onto, slide and lock their fingers into, in order to allow to manipulate or control something else. Now, there is a lot to take in by just assessing the device alone, leading to the question, what could the Brotherhood possibly need this device for? Well, before we can further speculate, let's now investigate what haptic technology is as defined within our own world. According to the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, haptic technology, otherwise known as kinesthetic communication or 3D touch, is technology that has the ability to recreate the sense of mechanoreceptive touch within a 3-dimensional space by the application of applied force, vibrations, or gross motor movements by the user. Now, the article goes on to explain that haptic tech can create virtual objects in a computer simulation, can be used to control virtual objects within 3-dimensional spaces, and to enhance the remote control of machines and devices in what is known as telerobotics. Now, okay, so this last part, to enhance the remote control of machines and devices in what is known as telerobotics, is what has me thinking, I think I know what this tech is used for within the Brotherhood. But let us continue in our investigation of this haptic tech. So in our world, the most common uses of this technology is in electronic devices that use vibrations through the use of actuators in order to relay a type of message to the user. An example of this would be the rumble feature of most controllers used in gaming, such as the PlayStation DualShock controller or in the Nintendo Rumble Pack. This first came to hit the gaming scene in 1976 with the Sega game Motocross, where the handlebars of the game would vibrate during a collision with another vehicle. This collision response would elicit the handlebars of the game to vibrate. The vibration would then be felt by the player, who would then be forced to pull off of the vehicle they were colliding with and redirect their course on the track. So with this example, we're not only seeing early uses of haptic tech within our timeline, being that it was, in 1976, but we're also seeing haptic technology playing a role in video games early on as well. So, that is pretty neat. Another example, which is also tied to gaming, is forced feedback device. So a forced feedback device is seen not just in gaming, but more specifically in simulators. So an example of this would be like in driving simulators, flight simulators, farming simulators, goat simulators. No, I'm just kidding. Essentially, what forced feedback devices do in these simulators is the operator or player of the game or simulator must turn a steering wheel or a flight control in order to manipulate a 3-dimensional object within a 3-dimensional space. So flying or driving, the vehicle itself will move if you move the steering wheel or the flight control right or left, up or down, etc. In 2007, a company known as Novint created a haptic drive device known as Falcon for use in gaming. This allowed for high-resolution 3D force feedback. A player could now simulate the control of objects, textures, recoil, momentum, and the physical presence of objects interacted with within their game. Outside of gaming, Other examples of real-world haptic tech include Microsoft's Airwave and the Disney Corporation's Airreel tech. So what this does is it uses air vortex rings to deliver non-contact haptic feedback. So these can be experienced on certain rides, such as the Disney parks, where the participant feels air blowing on their skin to elicit a response in conjunction with the scene they are experiencing on said ride. Outside of this, we also see Haptic-Drive being used in ultrasound devices in the fields of medicine. So this uses haptic feedback as more of a gross sense of motor movement, as it is your hand on the ultrasound device that is then placed onto the skin of a patient, in which you then move the ultrasound wand to create a three-dimensional scan of inside the human body in order to assess what is going on and obtain a medical diagnosis. So if these are the different types of haptic tech, then what are the applications of these? Well, the applications are numerous. So NASA uses haptic feedback in a process they call telepresence with the device the shadow hand. So the shadow hand is an advanced robotic hand with a total of 129 touch sensors embedded in every joint and finger pad of the robotic hand. This then can be remote controlled from a distance by an operator to type on keyboard devices, to manipulate physical objects in an environment, all from a distance. So NASA would use this telepresence tech in what was called their Robonaut program. Another application is known as teleoperation. So teleoperation is the process of using haptic tech to operate remote-controlled robotic tools. The first electrically actuated teleoperative devices were built and used in the 1950s at the Argonne National Lab by scientist Raymond Gertz. Raymond had built these devices so that scientists at the time could handle radioactive materials from a safe distance without facing the consequence of radiation. And finally, we have the realm of holographic manipulation. So holographic tech is kind of going by the wayside. This is purely my opinion, but in a way, virtual reality is becoming a bigger investment with more numerous applications. So in our own world, we're not really seeing much growth in holographic tech, but how haptic tech would fit into this is that in order to manipulate a holographic image, a user would have to use some form of haptic tech in order to control, manipulate, shrink, enlarge the holographic image they're wishing to observe. I feel like this is more seen in science fiction media like games and films, like very big in the 40K universe. But it is seen in Fallout, which we will get to shortly. So there are many more uses of haptic tech, from touchscreens on your phones, tablets, and computers to virtual reality gaming and simulation. Haptic technology is even crucial in a relatively new field known as teledildonics. Now, I'm going to let you go ahead and look that one up on your own, if you so desire, since, I am a new channel wanting to grow, and I really don't need YouTube coming down on me. But if you do, for all of you Brotherhood haters out there, just know that it is the Brotherhood saving and preserving the means to achieve and advance this tech within the Fallout wasteland. I don't see the Institute, the NCR, or the Enclave doing this, so, checkmate. Anyway, the point is that within our own universe, haptic technology is everywhere, and it is critical and crucial in lots of different fields of engineering. So with that foundation laid, let us now move on to the speculation portion, in which we analyze how can haptic technology be used in the Fallout world, and more specifically within the Brotherhood of Steel. From the data collected on haptic tech from our own world, there are some straight obvious applications that the Brotherhood would use this for. I can see haptic tech being used in flight simulation for the Lancers, no different than how pilots use it within our own universe. Now, holographic tech. This is interesting because of the possible implications we can ascertain from the Dead Money DLC in regards to the ex-Brotherhood elder, Father Elijah. So, as stated before, I know holographic tech is a different type of tech than haptic tech. But in order to manipulate holographic tech, you have to have haptic tech. Because, once more, in order to manipulate virtual objects within a 3D space, one must be linked to a haptic drive device. So if that device is available, then this tech is doable. So the speculative lore gem I wish to share with you is to think back on the Sierra Madre and good old Father Elijah. Now we have the holographic enemies in the Sierra Madre, and these are one of the most advanced scientific achievements not only in the Fallout universe, but in just any sci-fi universe. They are moving objects of light that are able to identify threats in their environment and attack them. It is just not possible within the realms of physics and just known reality, which I won't rehash, as I know that this has been done by other lore channels such as Synonymous, which I will provide a link below so that you can check out his video. But it still stands that it is just a fantastical notion. So humor me and let us explore a more tangible and realistic approach to how this could be a reality. What if I told you there is a possible explanation for this that doesn't have to stretch the imagination into realms of witchcraft and wizardry using haptic tech? So let's go over what we know. We know that the holographic enemies were built pre-war using Big Mountain's Z38 Lightwave Dynamic Research Facility by the National Electric Group. We can ascertain this information from the various terminals within the Sierra Madre itself. We know that the National Electric claimed that the EBE, or Emergency Broadcast Emitter, is what allowed the holographic security guards to become weaponized. They would be able to identify threats, attack said threats, and be invulnerable to attacks themselves. So, what if I said that these claims that are on the terminal you can find are a bunch of crap? The ability to make sentient holograms, even in the most wacky and insane science fiction universes, i.e. see Warhammer, is a massive stretch. You have to ask yourself, how do they know what is friend from foe? They don't have a central processor, they don't have scanning devices, they don't have pretty much anything. They're just walking beings of light. So no, sorry, I'm not buying that. Instead, I propose this theory, that these numerous light guards are all controlled and operated by Father Elijah himself. See, if the emitters act as security cameras, and Elijah can see every crevice, crook, and cranny of the Sierra Madre through his control tower or his control room, then he could, in theory, spot the player on the emitter and engage in combat. He would be using haptic drive technology. He would instead be entering the world through the avatar of the hologram itself, and then control the apparition to do his bidding, and could even possibly control multiples of them. We know that Elijah is a former Brotherhood elder, and that he is a technological prodigy. We also know that he was able to produce holographic ballistics, known as holorifles, using microfusion cells as the power source. So all of this tells me that he is relatively aware of holographic technology, and how to manipulate holographic technology in order to act upon the physical world. So if anyone in the present could weaponize holograms, then I'm putting my money on him. But this doesn't explain their autonomy. This is the portion that falls into the realm of fantasy. But this doesn't exclude investigating possibilities that make it more so of a reality through the use of haptic drive tech. So they are unable to operate independently, but they could be controlled through teleoperative haptic drive inlaid suits. Once again, I'm not stating this is factual, it's just my humble take on the matter, but still I believe this over light magic wizard power sorcery. So I only bring this up within this video due to the connection between haptic drive tech and holographic tech, and how this pertains to the Fallout world in regards to not just the Sierra Madre DLC, but the character of Father Elijah. Now, Father Elijah was an elder in the Brotherhood, and it would be safe to assume that prior to him going rogue from the Brotherhood, in order for him to learn about certain forms of technology, he would have had access to data and information regarding that form of technology. So, if anything, the biggest takeaway from Father Elijah, holographic tech, and subsequently haptic tech is that within the archives of the Brotherhood, at least on the West Coast, there seems to be information regarding holographic tech and potentially haptic tech. I believe that the introduction of the haptic drive in Fallout 4 was intentional by the development team at Bethesda as a way to further solidify that the power armor technology is more technologically advanced than it would seem like on the surface, and that haptic drive technology plays a critical role in the function of power armor suits within universe. So, to support this, my first entry of evidence is assessing how one enters a suit of power armor, starting with Fallout 4, and then with each subsequent title afterwards, such as in Fallout 76. When entering a suit of power armor, if you pay close attention to the vambrace section of the arm, you can easily see that the player's hand, or the player character's hand, does not penetrate through and extend into the physical hand of the suit itself. So, ergo, your character's hand is stopping at what would be the functional wrist of the power armor suit. Now, I believe that the haptic drive, as we see in game, is found at this location, and that the character's hand slides perfectly into the molded fit inlay that can be seen on the device, and that from this point forward, the operator is able to control the hand of the power armor suit in order to manipulate the environment outside of the suit without causing harm or destruction to the things that they're interacting with. For as we've seen in the show, the actuators and the steel components of the power armor suit can be destructive, such as Maximus crushing the head of a raider who's trying to steal this power armor suit and attack him. But what would stop the suit from doing this to anything the operator touched? More specifically, their weapon. Well, without any form of feedback from the biological anatomical hand of the operator and the mechanical robotic hand of the suit, there really wouldn't be any way to stop the power armor hand from just crushing the handle of your weapon or anything that you picked up, investigated, and touched within the game. But I would like to take us another step further and apply the same type of technological principles as the haptic drive in regard to the hands of the power armored suit, and now apply it to another piece of important Brotherhood equipment, the under armored suit. So in Fallout 4, we see a continuation of the design of something that was introduced in Fallout 3, and that being the Brotherhood's power armor under armored suit. The power armor operators, the knights and the paladins, can be seen wearing a skin-tight orange and white suit, complete with an over-the-head hood that allows, or is believed to allow, the operator to be synced with the suit in order to provide proper mobilization and operation of the power armor suit while piloting. Power armor under armored suit is a flight-like jumper seen on Brotherhood Knights and Paladins when out of their power armor suits. This also comes with a complete head-covering hood that appear to come from the pre-war era, as we can see this hood in the opening cinematic. Upon further inspection, we can see there are numerous hard attachment points that can be found throughout the suit, allowing for some form of interfacing with the power armor and the operator themselves. And I believe that these are the haptic interface points. So the use of this suit, I believe, should be mandatory when operating power armor, and let me explain why. If one were to climb into a suit of power armor, how does the technology within the suit and your physical body sync up to allow for proper kinesthetic use without harming the operator themselves? What tells the suit to bend backwards, but not enough to rip your spine in half? How would the suit know your athletic capabilities in order to stop itself from going too far in any direction? Well, the answer is it wouldn't. It would need to be biometrically synced up with your own body's anatomy and physiology in order to know what it can and cannot do, hence the Under Armour suit. I thought that Bethesda's introduction of this suit in Fallout 4 was genius, as it was further enhancing the design from Fallout 3 while providing an in-game lore-friendly reason as to why one would need to have power armor as a trained skill in order to operate a suit. But what makes this a serious oversight, in my opinion, is that there isn't strict use of wearing this suit when operating power armor of any variety. So, to me, it makes more sense from a gameplay and lore perspective to wear this type of suit when operating power armor in-game, because, in your mind, what stops this thing from ripping your limbs off internally if it doesn't know when to stop? Consider the scene from Iron Man 2, where we can literally see this happening in the suits made by Tony Stark's competitor. I get that it would be a big hassle to change in and out of all of that just to operate a specific, form of armor in game, but it's not like we have to wear specific suits and equipment when engaging in other parts of the game. Oh wait, crap, yeah, you do. So what do I know? That will conclude today's episode on Brotherhood Tech, but please return and join us for part 3, in which we investigate the final piece of the Quartermastery op. Please like, subscribe, share, all of that algorithm fun stuff. And once again, thank you for watching. This is Paladin Lamric, over and out. Ad Victoriam. Requistat in Aacer. Primus inter
Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. If you know of a brother or sister in need, reach out for support. We are all in this wasteland struggle together. And remember, ad Victoriam.